飛ばしたらあんなこんなどんなカーブもへっちゃらさダダダティダダトゥダダうなるエンジンで涙なんかぶちぎれ
Welcome to the Super Sentai Brothers. This is episode 46 of Licensed to Carranger, the internet's best and only podcast dedicated to Gekisou Sentai Carranger. Every week we watch an episode of the show and we share our thoughts with you, the listeners. My name is Matt J. With me as always is my co-host and brother Dave. Dave, how you doing today?
Oh, pretty well. Pretty well. Just hanging out. Business as usual.
Nice. Glad to hear it.
Yeah.
Well, Dave, you know what is not business as usual? Is that today...
Can't think of anything.
Well, today we're doing things a little differently on the show because we are at the end of Carranger.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
That is the only unusual thing about today, Dave, is that we
No,
are...
that is weird. I thought you were gonna talk about the global pandemic that we're in the middle of.
The
global pandemic that we're kind of right in the...
Oh, I don't know. Hadn't really heard of that one. I've been too busy getting prepped for the season finale, Dave. It's a big time in my life.
This is news you can use. This is important stuff.
Yes, this is it.
The season finale of Carranger.
The end of the fifth season of the Super Sentai Brothers, Dave. Come on,
it is the end of the fifth season, isn't it?
What could be more newsworthy than that? Oh, so the thing that is different, Dave, today, is that we are instead of doing the 5 stars and talking about one episode, we are doing no 5 stars, but we are talking about 3 episodes, which is a lot of episodes, but we're doing it for a good reason, and it is that we are right, as I said, at the end of Carranger, and the last 3 episodes are sort of it's sort of like 1 hour long movie, basically, that's split into 3 parts.
Yeah, that is a little bit unusual. Normally, for the end of a season, like the last 2 episodes are like that, and Carranger breaks the mold a little bit there. So that's kind of why we're mixing up that format.
And plus, it's just, I'm excited to finish the season. We've been at this for a while with a lot of like delays, and so it feels good to just like push through and finish Carranger. Not that I haven't enjoyed Carranger. I've enjoyed it immensely.
Carranger's been great.
But I feel like the end of it has been like slightly eluding us. And now, Dave, no more. We are here and we're doing it. So here's what's going to happen. We are going to watch 3 episodes of Carranger. We are going to come right back, and then we are going to talk about those 3 episodes of Gekisou Sentai Carranger. Okay, welcome back. Dave, the ending of this show is very good.
It is. It's extremely good.
It did make me feel things. I want to be honest about that. I had a lot of strong feelings right in the middle of it, especially. It's just okay. Let's just get into this because it's great. Episode 46. These were all written by Yoshio Urasawa.
Unsurprisingly,
the titles of them are Episode 46, Suddenly Ineffective, Transformation Power. Episode 47 is Hit and Break, The Death-Defying Space Drive. And Episode 48 is Traffic Safety Forever. All written by Yoshio Urasawa, all airing from like the end of January through the beginning of February 1997. And that is all there is about that.
Yeah. So we open up, and what we see is we actually see a bunch of constellations, and then we sort of zero in on the car stellations, the car magic constellations, and there is some, we just, like, they're chilling out for a second, and then we see some sort of, like, we don't know it's evil, but it's red, so I'm assuming it's evil. Some sort of, like, evil space, like, miasma, just kind of spreading.
It's going to turn out to be
space.
So much more funny than space miasma. I mean, that is definitely what it
does,
looks
that's
like.
What it looks
but like, boy. Okay, so it's spreading through, and it sort of like washes over and kind of surrounds the area where the car magic constellations are, and a bunch of other constellations as well, actually. They're all like clustered together in a group. When this happens, it cuts to pictures of like Dash Emperor exhausts laughing evilly, and then the Carrangers like writhing in pain, and like the camera
like choking.
Yeah.
So it's very, very bad for them. Like whatever it is.
The camera's sort of swimming around, and then Dapu wakes up because this was all a terrible dream that Dapu was having.
Yes, so he's obviously very upset. There's like a bead of sweat that runs down his face, and then we zoom in just way too close.
Entirely too
to
close.
Dapu's face.
Yeah, because they need to show that bead of sweat going down his face, but his face is made of like foam rubber, and it does not look good. I mean, it doesn't look good from far away, but it looks very bad from close up.
Right, well, because when it gets very close, you know that it is supposed to be his skin, but it is also definitely not actually skin, and it is definitely foam rubber. And so like it tips even harder into the uncanny valley than Dapu himself normally is. So the Rangers run in because he's been like yelling, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, Dapu, what's going on?" And he recounts the details of the dream to them, and they're like, "Listen." Minoru is particularly vociferous about this. He's sort of like making like the DX with his arms. Like he's like crossing his hands and be like, no, everything you're saying is like bad. I don't want to hear it. And I'm blocking it with my arms. And that's how I'm going to do it. But all the Rangers are like, listen, Dapu, it's fine, man. Like we're the Carrangers. We crush it 24/7. Like everything is great. Anytime the Bozok show up, we defeat them. Like it's like, we get that you had a scary dream, but everything is fine.
Yeah. And they're not just reassuring, they're also kind of flippant about it. Like, dude, everything's cool. Do not worry. We are currently unaware that this is the season finale, so we're not even stressing this a little bit.
Yeah, and I have a whole... I'm just like, I'm thinking to myself as I'm watching this, like, guys, man, maybe you should listen to Dapu. There was literally a whole arc of this show about you guys taking all of this more seriously.
Right. But what we find out is
it turns out
they actually are taking it very seriously. They just don't want to like stress Dapu out. They want to like sort of keep him in high spirits. So they did all that, and then they all sort of like mosey on out of there and head out to the park where they are doing like intensive training. And what I really love is that it's not just random training. It is all the same exercises that Dapu was making them do in like the training episodes very early in the season.
Yeah, and they're being like super duper intense. Kyosuke, like everybody's going for it, and Kyosuke is like double going for it. Like everybody else is doing push-ups and he's doing like burpees. Everybody else has a sword and he's got like he doesn't have 4 swords. But
everyone's lifting weights, and he's lifting weights that are like 5 times heavier than everyone.
Yeah, he is being like real intense about it, which I dig. Like I really like Kyosuke kind of like that really has been his arc, like from new guy to really solid team captain. And that's been very, very cool.
We get some
so Dapu sees this.
We get some internal monologue of the Carrangers as they're doing this. And, and I really like it because what it kind of drives home is something that I haven't really spent a lot of time thinking about throughout the series. But the Carrangers, like, in almost every season, you know, there are... there's a reason why the people who have the power, like, have become the Power Rangers, or, like, the Sentai become the Sentai. Like, in some cases it's random, but there's usually some sort of, like... You know, there's a military organization that says, like, you're all going to be the heroes. Or there's a mystic fate that says you're all going to be the heroes. In this one, it not only does it seem to choose these 5 kind of randomly, it also never then circles back around and says, like, this is why it was drawn to you. Right? Like, they're just dudes. Like, they're just random. Minoru, in his... internal monologue is like, I still don't know why we're the people who have to do this. And it's really hard to do it. And like, I'm not great at this, but we're all just trying our best because we are what the universe has. And so we have to do a good job. And with my friends, I can do it. And it's very good.
Yeah, I do. I did really dig that. And that has been a very cool, the last time I feel like we got that really was Jetman. Where it really was, it was like, it's totally random, except for Ryu, of course. It's totally random, and you guys just kind of have to, like, knuckle up and be superheroes because, like, the world needs superheroes, and you are them. And that's kind of what it is, and so you just have to do it, and I dig that a lot. So Dapu sees this, as I mentioned, and he's so proud. Like, he feels so good. He's like, oh my gosh, they're really doing it. Like, these guys are amazing. But he's still, like, this dream is still bugging him. Like, he's still, like, trying to figure out, he's like, there's something else going on here.
We cut to space, and the Reckless Dash Emperor Exhaust is monologuing to no one. Well, to us, basically. And he says, okay, here's what's about to happen. Once every 1 million years, space turns red. Now, why does space turn red, Dave?
Because of evil space miasma, Matt. It's like a gas, because that's a thing that exists in space.
No,
it just
no,
sort of
Dave.
Spreads across,
Dave,
like stellar wind.
Dave, it's not a miasma. The red is the wine that is spilt from the wine barrel constellation.
Oh, yeah, that's right. There's a wine barrel constellation, which is a real thing, and then it can tip over and spill actual magical space wine and covers all of space. And the constellations get drunk.
Yes.
That's what's going on.
There is a previously unmentioned ring of protective constellations that surround the car magic constellations, and once every million years, when the constellations all get space drunk from the wine constellation's wine, then the constellations party too hard and are no longer there to protect the car magic constellations, and then they will be vulnerable. And then when they're vulnerable, Reckless Dash Emperor Exhaust will be able to seal them, thereby blocking the Car Rangers from their source of car magic power. He will then be able to explode the Earth and complete his intergalactic evil superhighway. A genius plan.
A genius plan. We go from there to, it is a genius plan, Matt, and we'll get to that. So we go from there to Barbarian, the BB Saloon, and we got some chill jazz trumpet in the saloon. Everybody's bummed out. Nobody more than President Dynamo. He had that bow tie. He crushes it. He's so sad. He's just having a drink. Zelmoda and Inventor Grotch are like off to the side. They're like, dude, let's just like let him be sad for a minute. Obviously, he's totally brokenhearted about Beauty Zennet, who, remember, was revealed to be Princess. She's not ready at a fan belt.
She is Vanity Mirror fan belt.
Thank you, Vanity, who is revealed to really be Vanity Mirror fan belt from the Van Belt planet. And she's gone. And now President Dynamo is super bummed out. And then Exhaust just jumps in. Like, he just appears out of nowhere in that, like, single viewing window in the BB Saloon. Everybody freaks out because, of course, he's gigantic. And he's like, listen, here's your problem. What you need is not sorrow. Your problem is that you're letting yourself be sad instead of angry. The Car Rangers, like, basically, hey, man, the Car Rangers stole your girl. Don't just sit here and be sad about it. Like, go wreak terrible vengeance, and then once you destroy the Car Rangers, luck will be back on your side. And to help you out, I have this final robot. It's called Noshiran Final. And remember before they had a robot, it was like a paper cutout. It's called Noshiran 12, I think? But this is Noshiran Final. This is it. This is the guy. This is the giant robot that's going to help you defeat the Car Rangers. Like, and take care of it.
And it's funny,
you're great,
because the one that he had before, as compared to this one, like the designs of them definitely make it look like the other one was a papercraft version of this one. Like, it's the same basic design, but this one's just a lot more detailed and fancy looking.
Yes,
which is very good. So that is their new plan. Now, back down on Earth, Dapu is researching this stuff from his dream. Sort of in the background. And then the Car Rangers go to confront the Bozok, who have landed and are going to be having a giant robot fight. They're going to be having a great giant robot fight.
Yeah. It is. It's very, very, very good. While this is all happening and sort of like immediately beforehand, Dapu is researching. He's still trying to figure out like what is going on with his dream. He doesn't quite figure it out yet, and we're going to be like kind of jumping back and forth. But Dapu's end of it is like really boring. He's just like looking at a computer screen. Right.
The giant robot fight is a lot more exciting than that, because like I think they remembered, like, oh gosh, it's right near the end. We need to make these last few fights good. So Norishion Final lands. The Carrangers show up in VRV Robo, and they're like, okay, now it is time. We have been practicing. You are dead meat, dudes. They shoot him with some laser guns. The Norishion Final like blocks the lasers and then just starts pulling out like all of its special maneuvers.
So he's got like a cool axe, which is very neat. The fight actually goes like pretty in favor of like Norishion Final here. It's obviously a very powerful robot.
And they're starting off by hitting like all of their like heavy like final moves. Like Norishion Final is just starting with its finisher moves, which is pretty bad for the Carrangers. In fact, Norishion Final, its like best move is that it basically has its own victory twister. Like he pulls out the shoulder cannons and he starts to shoot.
Yeah, it's
at
called
the Carrangers.
Final Twister.
But before they have an opportunity to get zapped to death, they're like, okay, well, we're a big target now, but if we split into all of our component pieces, we'll be a lot harder to hit, and we'll get out of the way of the shot. So they do that, and then the fight sort of turns around, because it's 5-on-1. Again, I don't know why they don't do this all the time. This is much more useful.
Yeah.
Except that I guess
great.
it's just, like, not sporting. Because as they're going along, the Bozok are yelling at them like, hey, like, what are you doing 5 against 1?
Yeah, they're like, this is not cool. You guys are, like, this is not fair. There's clearly, like, a lot more of you than there are of us, and it is not neat cool that you're doing this. Like, we do not appreciate it.
And so eventually, after this one particular great move where, and I think we've seen this move before, the firefighter, which is Kyosuke's single robot dude, is like running towards the Norishion Final. Norishion Final shoots the blaster at him, and to avoid that, he transforms down back into his car mode to duck under it, but continues to drive forward, and then maintaining that momentum, transforms back into a dude and then punches him in the face. It's very good.
Yeah, it is pretty, like, it's a pretty slick maneuver. And it is very clear, like, they're definitely ganging up. And then afterwards, like, after they've delivered this big shot, Dynamo, Zelmoda, and Grotch are, like, piloting this thing all together. And he's like, dude, we are not prepared to fight 5 guys. This is not cool. And Minoru's like, oh, yeah, that's a good point. This isn't really fair. And then they do Gekisou fusion again. So now it's back to 1v1. And then Zelmoda's like, all right, I can't believe. So Grotch, first of all, is like, wow, what great guys. Like, that was really sporting of them. I can't believe they did that. And Dynamo's like, shut up. Like, you're not supposed to do that. They're the enemy. Just get ready to fire, man. Because as soon as they fuse, that's when we're going to launch our attack. Like, we'll sort of hit all 5 at once before they've gotten ready, and we're going to win this thing. It doesn't work.
Right.
Well, I mean, it works. They shoot.
But unfortunately, they shoot at the exact same time that VRV Robo shoots Victory Twister, and it's one twister against the other, and although they're doing that thing where, like, the 2 energy beams hit each other and then, like, push back and forth for a few seconds, but unfortunately, Norishion Final's twister is not as good as Victory Twister, and it just gets blown up.
Yeah, no, it's definitely...
There is a great bit where just as Norishion Final is about to explode, I think it's President Guinan was like, quickly, to the escape system! Like, let's get to the escape pods! And one of the other people in the cockpit is like, that absolutely does not exist.
Yeah, no, Reckless Emperor Exhaust is not OSHA approved. He does not care if you get stuck in this giant burning robot. So, now the Bozok are just on the ground. They're feeling really embarrassed. They're like, are we just that bad at piloting giant robots? Like, I can't believe, like, we had this great robot. We still lost. This sucks. And then the Rangers arrive. And they're like, dude, just, like, leave the Bozok already. And it's not clear if they're trying to say, like, you guys are clowns, just give up. Or, like, hey, like, man, this clearly isn't working for you. Like, maybe just turn over a new leaf and don't try to blow up our planet. But either way, like, it's pretty clear. The Rangers are like, listen, man, there's just no way you're ever going to win this. Like, give it up. Move on with your life.
Right. Of course, the Bozook are not interested in turning over a new leaf and are much more interested in summoning a bunch of Wumpers so that the Wumpers can fight the Carrangers. While I guess those three just watch and try to figure out what their next step is.
So we do see, real quickly, so Ichitaru shows up, and he's like, ooh, the Rangers, this is awesome. And so he starts drawing. He's like, I'll do pictures of them. So he draws all the Rangers, and we get shots of all the drawings. And the Rangers all do like a pose and like a red racer, blue racer. We go from there again to Dapu, and it's after all of this. We've bounced back and forth to him, like I said, once or twice already. But this time, we see, like, he's figured it out. He has realized the once every million years thing. And he's like, oh no. Like, he, like, punches in the Earth date and time into, like a galactic calendar converter, I guess.
I wonder when this once in a million years thing is going to happen.
And it's January the 24th, 1997 at 1 p.m., which is right now.
Right, he looks at the computer screen and it says 1 p.m., and then he looks over his manual clock just as it ticks over from 12:59 to 1, which is a great comedic, like, sort of serious but definitely comedic beat. Like, oh, once in a million years. Oh no, it's today. Oh no, it's right now.
Yeah. So we go up to see Exhaust, and he's up in space. And apparently the plan is not just to seal them, but to seal them in his own body. And he just kind of like floats forward and eats them, which is a huge flex. I think that's real big.
Yeah, he like sucks them into his mouth as though he was Kirby.
Yeah. Now I really thought like the booze element of this was going to end up playing a larger role. Like, the Rangers were going to get magically drunk because, like, the constellations got drunk or something. This is not the case at all. Like, the only wine element of it is, oh, they're off their guard, they can be sealed, and now the Carrangers have no access to their car magic powers. That's it.
It kind of feels like they were starting to write the episode, and they were like, okay, well, he's gonna take their power away by sealing away the car magic constellations inside his own body, and then they're going to have to deal with that. Cool. And then someone else in the room said, if he had the power to do that, why didn't he do it 15 episodes ago? And they had to sort of like work backwards from there. Like, well, there are other constellations, and those constellations protect these constellations, but sometimes they don't because of space drunkenness.
Yeah.
But whatever, it all works. It all works perfectly.
It does. So of course Ichitaru, like, they're henshined while they're in the middle of this fight, and then they lose their ability to henshin, and they just turn into their people. And Ichitaru discovers their identities, and it's like, holy crap! It's all these guys, like, that I already know.
Right, it's my dad's employees, all of them. But, like, once they untransform, the fight is not going great for them. They try to and also, this is when the Bozook discover that the Carrangers are just regular people from Earth, and they are, like, shocked and not, like, disgusted, but, like, they do not know how to deal with this information. Because I think that maybe in their head, the Carrangers were just, like, superheroes from space, and so to discover that something, like, the people who have been beating them this whole season are just like these 5 idiots is like very harmful to them.
So the Rangers try, like, they kind of try everything. Like, they try to launch the robots, it doesn't work. They try to launch RV Robo, that doesn't work. Just like nothing is working.
The VRV Robo, which was already there, like, you see its gas tank being emptied, and then it just falls over.
So the Bozook are like, well, I guess it's time for the Bozook to get nuts. like, beat the hell out of those guys and let's get crazy. So the Rangers try to fight, but they have basically nothing. Like, they are not, as we mentioned before, this is not one of the seasons where in their unhinged form they retain some degree of superpower. Like, they're 100%
or frankly,
just like
even fighting ability. Like, you'd think that they would have picked up some sort of fighting ability throughout the course of the season, but when they're not superheroes, they just don't know how to do it. Like, they're just, like, flailing around and, like, trying to not get, like, thrown into the river, basically.
Yeah.
Ichitaru sees all this. He's like, well, this is terrible. I need to go get help.
Yeah. So he runs, and we flip over to Kyoban base, and Sigma Man is there. He's like, this is great. Everything is totally chill. And then Ichitaru runs up and is like, everything is not totally chill. The Rangers are in trouble, and also it's all the guys from Pegasus Motors. And then Signal Man's like, what? And then they all run over. We get a shot of Reckless Dash Emperor Exhaust just kind of reveling in his victory. And then the final shot of this episode is the Rangers in one line and the Bozok in another. And just the Rangers are about to get blasted. End of episode.
Right. The beginning of the next episode, the Rangers do get blasted, but are basically fine.
Yeah,
Like,
they're totally cool.
It's one of
I
those
mean, they're
things
about
where,
to not be cool.
Right. But, like, the end of episode 46 definitely makes it look like when they get shot, it's going to be extremely bad. And at the beginning of episode 47, it was just another time they were shot.
Yeah,
it's not a big deal.
They're totally okay. So the Rangers, like, get blasted, and then they just run, and then the Bozok chase them, of course, and then they make it to Pegasus Motors. And the Ranger, well, I guess they're not the Rangers. They're the Rangers in their heart. The Rangers are like, well, I think we'll be good here. And Minoru's like, oh my gosh, I'm so thirsty. Let me go grab a drink. And then as he goes to grab a drink, like professional wrestling promo style, the Wumpers just like crash through the wall.
It's so good because they get back, like, finally, we're back at Pegasus Motors. We are safe here. Like, Minoru picks up a mug and starts to take, like, a long, careful sip, and just 3 Wumpers bust through on him. It's so good.
I am, and I think we mentioned this before. Like, I am not really sure what Pegasus Motors does, because they clearly, like, sell and design cars, but they're also a garage, but also, like, they make like, it's very unclear. Like, I think they really, as far as the writers got, is like, what does Pegasus Motors do? Like, I don't know, car stuff is what they do.
A little bit of everything.
Little bit of everything. So Dapu, like, calls them over, and he's like, guys, like, you gotta get over here, like, come over to the base, like, we'll be safer in there. And they shut the door behind them, and the Bozok run over, and they're trying to, like, kick down the door into the Carranger's base. And I genuinely thought that this was gonna be like a magic thing, where, like, the Rangers were going to go in the door, and then when they opened the door again, it was going to be into a completely different space, and, like, the Rangers were going to escape.
Yeah.
This is not the case.
That is not the case at all.
They do just, like, literally kick the door down, and then they're, like, in the Carranger's secret base. There's nothing secret about it, aside from the fact that it's behind this door, and hopefully you didn't notice.
And the Bozok just start, like, setting explosive charges everywhere. They are just going to blow this place to the ground, and, like, kill the Carrangers and Dapu inside of it.
Yeah. The Rangers are sort of, like, running through. The base is very, we mentioned this, but, like, it is very, very large.
Yeah, I feel like we see more of it in this episode than we really do otherwise. To the point where, like, they were running around so much, I got confused for a second as to whether or not they were in, like, everyone was in the same location. Like, I kind of thought for a second that the Bozok had ended up in a different garage. That, of course, is not the case. Because, I mean, because they're there and they're blowing it up. And again, like, there's nothing that the Carrangers can really do to stop them, because they can't transform. They're not super strong. They don't have their weapons. And they're just, like, standing there as the place is preparing to explode. And then does explode. Like, you kind of think they're going to do something to stop it right before it happens, but then they don't do anything.
They definitely do not.
It's very bad.
What is weird to me is, we've mentioned that, like, the Rangers each have, like, just like a colored box. Okay. They're these big glowing colored boxes, and they're in the middle of the base, and they never ever matter. Ever. Not one single time did these boxes matter. Like, they're extremely prominent, and they glow, and they're color-coded, and they never ever matter. Like, the Bozook walk over, and they're like, these things clearly matter, and they put bombs on them, and then they do in fact explode. I just kept waiting for them to be important, and they're never important.
I never thought they were important. I assumed they were like chairs, basically.
Well, yeah, except they're color-coded and they glow, and they're just like in the middle of the base, and they can't be comfortable to sit on. Like, at first I thought that, and then they just kind of kept showing, I don't know. I feel like I'm getting stuck in a weird loop on these dumb boxes, but they definitely don't matter. I think the reason I'm mentioning it is, the Bozook very specifically, like, affix bombs to them. Like, the Bozook walk in and see them and say to themselves, we've never been here, but those are clearly important. Like, we better make sure to blow them up. But they're not. So anyways, the Rangers just kind of, the Bozook are like, all right, well, we're out of here. And they leave. And then the timer keeps ticking down, and the Rangers don't do anything. And then the timer basically ticks to 0, and the Rangers just yell real loud, and then everything explodes.
Yeah, you keep, like, right until the end, you think, like, oh, well, something is going to happen. But no, nothing happens to stop this from going off. They just all get blown to pieces. Well, the place gets blown to pieces. Obviously, there's another episode and a half here. Our heroes do not die in this explosion.
Yeah, and then, so Ichitaru and Signal Man, like, survey the wreckage. Ichitaru, this is great, he's like, man, gosh, yeah, Dad is going to be so bummed out about this. Like, that he's going to be very disappointed. They see, there was a spot real quick, we didn't mention this before, but Kyosuke was, like, running by, and he, like, drips some blood, and it drips onto a license plate. And then Signal Man now sees this license plate and is like, oh my goodness, this must be it for the Rangers. And then he says, you are not allowed to die without my permission, which is a great line, but it does very much seem like the sort of line that an arch enemy says. It's
one of, it only works if you have a season's worth of context of Signal Man saying that people aren't allowed to do things without his permission. Like, if you didn't already know that was his catchphrase, then
dude, I can't believe I forgot that. No, you're totally right. Yeah, that does make a lot more sense. That's like a very anime thing to say, like, you're not allowed to die until I say so, right?
Right.
But no, you're totally right. That is obviously him just being bummed out.
And then, like, it starts to rain immediately, and, like, this is clearly just dramatic rain, because it will be gone by the next scene, but they're sad right now, and so it's raining. Ichitaru starts, like, calling for the Carrangers and trying to find them. They're just, like, wandering through the wreckage. So, from there, we cut away to the BB Saloon. The Bozook have gotten home. They walk into the BB Saloon. And
they're super stoked.
They're like, yes, we finally did it. We beat the Carrangers. Like, time to celebrate. And they walk into their bar, and it is full of trash. Just, like, full of, like, old, stinky trash bags.
And they're like, what is going on? Like, why is there trash everywhere? And Exhaust rolls up and he's like, hey, great job, everybody. Here's the new deal now, though, is that Barbarian is now a space garbage dump. Because you're all trash, and I don't need you anymore now that you've done this thing for me. You have always sucked. I dragged you to the finish line. You suck now. You're trash. Everything about you is trash. And actually, I'm now going to set all the garbage in Barbarian on fire, and he does that with, like, a giant electric blast. And he says, this is what I call recycling, because I'm going to use your stupid garbage. Turns out Barbarian is not like a moon. It's a ship. It's like a Death Star. Like, you can pilot this thing.
Yeah.
And he says, this is what I call recycling. I'm now going to use your giant flaming ship as a meteor, basically, to destroy the Earth. So, get wrecked. Yeah. See you guys later.
Actually, I won't. See you never, dorks. So he does. He just, like, sets it on fire and throws it at the Earth. It is very bad. So this is going on. They're all running around screaming because, like, you know, they are about to die.
Yeah, this is obviously very, very bad.
back on Earth, Ichitaru and Signalman are still looking for the Carrangers. Ichitaru is starting to like lose hope. He starts to cry. And just then Signalman is like, "Hey, there's some stairs over here. Like I found something. Let's go check it out."
Right. So they're still searching, and then VRV Master just like rolls onto the scene, and he's like, "Hey, everything's fine." Ichitaru's like, "Wait, what? How is everything fine?" And then like the Rangers come back on, and VRV Master's like, "Justice will always survive." While everybody was busy doing stuff, I built an underground bunker, and I arrived like just in time and got them into the underground bunker, and everybody is totally okay.
What I do love though is that like this is a continuation of something we've seen throughout the series, which is that like Dapu does something, and then later VRV Master, his dad, comes back and like does a better, fancier version of it. You know, like Dapu gives them all like the giant robot, and then VRV Master comes back and gives them a better giant robot. Dapu gives them like a secret, like, you know, headquarter like bunker, but then later the VRV Master comes and gives them an even more secret, even more protective bunker. Double secret bunkers. It's just bunkers all the way down.
That makes a lot of sense, right? Because again, Dapu is in fact like a 12-year-old child. And so I think Hazardians have got to just be like Guardians of the Universe, like of Oa level, like hyper beings.
Yeah. They must be.
So anyways, he actually has a vague resemblance, again, except he's flesh-colored instead of blue. Anyways, none of this is the point. They look up and they see Barabarian just like plummeting to Earth. And the Rangers are like, well, that obviously is very bad, and we're sad about it, but we are not superheroes anymore. Like,
right.
We were only superheroes because of car magic power.
Right, and VRV Master, I think, explains what happened to the car magic power, like the once in a million years thing.
He does. And Ichitaru is looking at them like, are you guys going to do anything? And they're like, man, we are sorry, but like, we're literally just people, and that is like basically a moon. So like we have nothing. Like we cannot do anything about this.
Signalman pipes up and he's like, well, I guess I am going to have to like protect the Earth all by myself.
Yeah, he does call them out in like a pretty harsh way. He's like, if you've lost the will to fight, like you're not heroes at all. Which is like, okay, I get that you're frustrated, Signalman, but like literally what do you want them to do?
Right. Like they actually can't do anything. So he runs into the city and he sees this thing crashing down. He's like, well, what I can do is summon my giant robot Syrender and try to like catch or redirect this thing so it doesn't hit directly. By this point, the Bozoke have managed to like put out the fires in Barabarian as well. So like it's gonna hit, but it's not gonna already like have all that flame. You know how that flame energy is the thing that's gonna cause the planet to
That's
explode.
Going to be the real problem. Yeah. So, it's obviously going poorly on Signalman's part because, like, Syrender is very large, but it is not nearly as large as Barabarian. And then there's a great shot where we see Signalman talking, and then it, like, zooms out of the visor of Syrender, and then we get the kind of macro shot, which is very cool. And the Bozoke are like, this is really bad. We're just going to abandon ship. So, like, they all run away. Like they just sort of like drive out in their space cars. And even though it seemed like it was going to go really poorly, Signalman manages to like pull it off. It obviously lands heavy, but like Barabarian is still functional and it doesn't destroy Earth.
Yeah. So good for Signalman.
Yeah.
Although I do think that like, because we're not going to see Syrender do anything else for like the remainder of the series, I kind of think that this was an excuse to like get Syrender off the table so that they could like have an excuse to not have him be part of the final fight. Right? Because like the last fight kind of wouldn't make sense if we knew there was another giant robot in reserve just waiting to like come in and help.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it lands. The Bozoke all sort of pile out of their cars that they had been using to evacuate. Signalman rolls over. He's like, "Hey, all of you idiots are under arrest."
Yeah, they're like, there's like a ton of us and one of you, so they just start to fight. Exhaust obviously is super angry about all of this because he was expecting this to just sort of be the end of it all. And he's like, I'm just going to go to Earth to handle this. Like, I'm just going to go deal with this. We go back to the Rangers, and Ichitaru is obviously very disappointed. And he says something, and the Rangers are like, listen, dude, like, we get it. Like, we are also very sad about this, but like, the Car Rangers were fueled by car magic. There isn't any car magic anymore. We aren't the Car Rangers. Like, the Car Rangers do not exist, like, outside of this thing. Like, it's just not possible. And Ichitaru, like, pulls out this drawing, and he shows it to them, and he's like, the Car Rangers live inside my heart. Like, they do still exist. They still exist inside my heart. The Rangers obviously are very touched. And is it VRV? It's VRV Master or Signalman. I can't remember who. And he says, that meaning is deep, heavy, and hard. Title of your sex tape.
I think it was actually Dapu who said that.
Oh, one of them says that. Sorry. Brooklyn Nine-Nine. If it never gave the world anything else aside from the recurring joke of title of your sex tape, it would be enough. Obviously, it's much more than that. It's a fantastic show, but I do love that joke.
It's an amazing joke.
Anyways, so the Rangers like meditate like on their memories of being Rangers. They just like sort of like they'll like take a moment, and they close their eyes, and it looks like it's happening in sequence, but probably it's happening like in parallel.
Right, and they're all thinking of previous episodes of this season, like they're like, you know, focus episodes where like each one of them got to do like the fancy thing by themselves, and we get like a quick montage. And when they come back from the montage, they're like the Car Rangers. Like, we are still Car Rangers in our hearts. The Car Rangers do live in our hearts. Like,
well, they're like, we're not the Car Rangers, but we are the Car Rangers in our hearts.
Right.
Like, they're very specific.
As though, like, Car Rangers in our hearts was, like, the official team name. Like, we're not the Car Rangers anymore. That is a separate thing from Car Rangers in our hearts. Like, all one word. And that is what we are.
Yeah.
But we definitely are that.
A bunch of, like, they reference it. Like, they continue to say, like, we, Car Rangers in our hearts, are here. Like, they just keep throwing in the in our hearts part.
So they're still going to run off to fight for traffic safety.
It is. They run over, like, they run out, and they get to where Signalman is, and then this is very cool. Like, this is a genuinely great moment. And I'm trying to remember, there was another season where they did something
Die Ranger
like this. Was it Die Ranger? Yeah. Where they go through the whole henshin sequence, and they never henshin. Like, they strike the pose and everything, and it's just this really awesome moment of, like, we know that, like, we kind of know we're going to lose this, but again, we're still the Car Rangers in our hearts, right, and we're going to go for it.
And then they do. They're like, hey, like, Signalman, we're here to help. Like, you can take a back seat, bud. And they just run around and start fighting the Bozoke, and it's really great. Like, I had real feelings watching this fight, because the thing is that, like, they're not great fighters when they're not the Car Rangers. They're just, like, flailing around. Like, they are, like, what I would be like in this moment if I was thrust into it. Just like, man, boy, I believe in stopping you. And just, like, trying to do stuff. And, like, you know, like, it's not going well, but then they start kind of working together and doing stuff that doesn't actually look like good fighting, but is successful in, like, avoiding getting hit and kind of shoving people over. And Signalman looks at them. He's like, they're just fighting with their hearts. Like, they have nothing else, but they're still doing it. It's very good. Even
Gainamo is like, this is very dumb. Like, this is not, like, no, you're not going to do this. This is not going to go well for you. But then Zanette shows up.
I'm sorry, Dave.
Like,
she is no longer the beauty Zanette.
Oh, I'm sorry. Vanity Mirror Fan Belt shows up. And she's like, what are you guys doing? Like, Dynamo, stop it. Quit it.
Have you already forgotten that 10 minutes ago, the Reckless Dash Emperor Exhaust shouted so loud that the entire galaxy could hear that you were all trash, and then he set you on fire and tried to kill you? That happened 10 minutes ago.
Like, this is not... And then she does kiss Kyosuke, and Dynamo is deeply distraught about this. And all his friends are like, oh, dude, don't look. I can't believe she would do that to you. Like, she's so cold-hearted. But then they're like, yes, that's actually a very, very good point. Thank you, Vanity Mirror Fan Belt. And then Dynamo's like, listen, I know that this is a little bit awkward at this point, but are we cool? Like, can we be pals?
Right. From now on, we are your friends and allies, and we're gonna deal with this exhaust situation together, which I love.
It is. It's really, really good. And the Rangers are like, oh, man, this is like a tiny bit weird. Like, are we really going to do this? And then Kyosuke's like, yes, we're going to do it. This is going to be amazing.
Well, he does this because that's the moment where Vanity Mirror Fan Belt walks over and kisses him on the cheek, and he's like super fired up.
Yeah. So they're like, here's the plan, Dynamo says. He's like, here's the plan. We're going to pilot Barabarian directly into Exhaust.
Dave, I hate to interrupt, but this is not Dynamo's plan. It's Kyosuke's plan.
I thought it was Dynamo's plan, and then Kyosuke punches him, and it's like, no, we're going to do it.
No, this is all Kyosuke. Like, Kyosuke is so fired up that not only is he willing to, like, put aside his bad blood with the Bozo, but he also immediately thinks of a plan. And, like, it's a crazy plan, but it is a good plan, as it turns out.
Yeah, so, well, as I started mentioning, what the plan is they're just going to basically use Barabarian like a giant cannonball and just fly it full speed into Exhaust. And that's going to be it. And then Dynamo's like, hey, man, isn't this our ship? Like, we're going to do this. And then Kyosuke's like, just one thing. And then he turns around and just, like, jacks Dynamo in the face. And Dynamo falls over. And he's like, no, we're going to do it. And then they all, like, run into the... And again, like, they run like dopes. Like, it's really good. They have committed. Like, they don't do a cool run. They all, like, they run like little children. They're like, we're going to do it. And they all just run into the ship. And Signal Man still is like, that's way too cool. Like, that's very cool that they're going to do this. And then they all roll into the cockpit.
Vanity Mirror Fan Belt kind of swoons a little bit from, like, this display of heroism.
Yeah, it's very good. And they get rolling on the plan, and then this episode ends with, like, the photo negative shot. And they're like, drama, we're going to do it. Okay, so then this is it. This is the final episode of Carranger. Narratively, lots of stops and starts here. Like, I keep thinking the episode is going to kind of go one direction, and then it flips. But it is a very, very good episode. So here we go. We see the Reckless Dash Emperor Exhaust. He's like, man, I do not understand why this is such a giant pain. All I'm trying to do is build a totally rad intergalactic evil super space highway. I'm just a man with a dream. I don't understand why everybody can't get on board. But fine, like, I guess I just have to do this all myself. Like, I'm going to take care of this personally.
Right. So he is sort of, like, drifting towards Earth menacingly when, from Earth, comes the, like, giant cannonball that is Barabarian. And it just, like, slams into his stomach and causes a huge explosion. And just, like, busts right through him. And it's really great because there's, like, it hitting him in the stomach, the explosion, and that's when you hit, like, the freeze frame with the title of the episode. It's nice.
Yeah, and it just works. Like, it totally works. Like, you just, like, blast this dude,
Yeah, down on Earth, everyone looks up and they think, oh man, like, such a noble sacrifice. They've all died, obviously. Yeah. But they did kill the Reckless Dash Emperor Exhaust.
So, like,
and now,
great.
like, the universe is saved and we can all continue. And then, suddenly, Barabarian, which is still somehow intact.
Yeah, just lands on Earth, and then it explodes, and they run out, and they're Carrangers again. Like, and it worked. And so they have their power back, and, like, everything's great. And it really definitely does just seem like Exhaust is destroyed.
Right. It seems like this could be the end, except that it's the first 5 minutes of the last episode.
Yeah, and I was very confused because I was like, well, I know that we're only 5 minutes into this, but it does definitely look like they just punched a giant hole in that dude. But he comes back down to Earth and he's like, you fools, that wasn't even my final form. I have summoned all the evil magic power in the universe, and I have used it to revive myself as Exhaust Super Strong. Let's party. Let's
get nuts.
So the Rangers are about to summon VRV Robo. Dynamo steps up and he's like, no guys, now it's my turn. And he eats the Emo Yokon and he turns giant, and it's awesome. And I'm like, Dynamo, like, you've never been cooler than you are in this moment. This is the coolest. This is amazing. Cannot wait to see this fight.
So excited
Dynamo
for
versus Exhaust Super Strong.
And
Zanette is impressed.
Oh yeah, she's like, I never knew you were so brave, Dynamo. Like, good for you. This is going to be awesome.
Yeah. Then he does just shrink again, and his tum hurts real bad. And he's like, what is going on? And then he looks over, and the Emo Yokon is past its expiration date. And so it only made him giant for a little bit, and then his tummy hurts, and he can't fight anymore. And it's a huge bummer. I actually, it was a very funny moment, but I also was bummed out. Like, as a child, I think I would have loved it. As an adult, I'm like, no, I really wanted, Dynamo to get his moment.
It would have been cool.
Yeah.
He gets a bit of a moment in a little bit.
He does. So they do summon VRV Robo. And then it's just it's a real solid fight. VRV Robo versus Exhaust. He's got a tentacle, grabby tentacle power, and electrocutes them. And then they are just well, let's just lead with Victory Twister. Let's see what we can do. We do get a shot of the VRV carrier. And it made me realize that we never in this season get a full combo bot with the carrier and RV Robo and VRV Robo kind of all jammed together into one ultra super form. That never happens, which is pretty that's very unusual. That's weird that we don't get that.
That is weird. I feel like in a more modern series, they would never miss that opportunity to plug more toys into
never.
each other. So they pull out Victory Twister and they're shooting it at him, but Exhaust Super Strong is able to block the energy and then eventually redirects it and zaps it back at VRV Robo. They get knocked down. They get knocked down, then they get up again because at least at this moment, Exhaust Super Strong is unable to keep them down.
Yeah.
But then he turns his hand into a giant spike and just jams it through VRV Robo's stomach and then hoists it up into the air on the spike. It's brutal and very cool.
Yeah, it does. It definitely does look like a fighting game fatality maneuver. It's pretty rad. And then they're now it is weird because the Rangers do all kind of react as though they themselves have been stabbed. They're like, oh no. And
they haven't, obviously, because the cockpit is in the head, not in the stomach.
And then so Kyosuke's listen, we must use whatever we've got and stand no matter what. We've got to do this. Yuko's no, I don't want to die. I'm gone. I'm gonna get out of here. And she tries to head for the exit, and they stop her, and they're no, we're the only ones that can do this. And then they're yes, and they all sit back down. And then there's a great I think Kyosuke says the sun always shines behind the clouds, and they march forward slowly trying to get back to Super Exhaust.
As Exhaust is blowing stuff up around them, they're just so slowly trudging towards him.
Yeah, it's rad. And what they do, I thought this was very, very cool. VRV Robo, they just kind of managed to, it doesn't have much fight left in him. He just kind of staggers over and bear hugs Exhaust. And then they're like, all right, cool, like, we're out. And they just leave VRV Robo there, basically as like a giant robot shackle to keep Exhaust in place. And then they summon RV Robo. And they do, they fuse, and he's like RV Robo, the giant one again. And then they do a new move we've never seen before, and it's called Gekisou Cut Hyper Crusher, where they like dash forward, and then they do the spinning thing, and then they like jump and kind of like torpedo drill forward with the sword, and just like blast a hole straight through Exhaust.
It's extremely
sick.
good.
Yeah, it's totally rad. And they're like, oh my gosh, like we did it. We did it. We just blasted a hole straight in that dude's chest. There's no way he survives. Of course he does survive.
Yeah, he like the hole fills back in, and he's like, guys, did you not listen earlier when I said that I had absorbed all of the evil energy in the universe and used it to turn it into like an immortal monster? Like, that was a cool move, but like, come on, guys.
Like, I'm invincible. Maybe if they try, because he just yells like, I'm invincible. So my thought is maybe they need to try a whole bunch of liquid nitrogen.
A bunch of liquid nitrogen with an exploding pen?
Yeah. So
I mean, it makes sense to me.
Yeah, he does like another giant super blast, and RV Robo goes down. This is it. VRV Robo's down, RV Robo's down, Reckless Dash Emperor Exhaust is still rocking it. What possibly could they do to survive this situation? Because they don't have another giant robot.
Right. But then Dynamo has a thought. He's like, wait a second. Grotch, give me those. Grabs the expired Emo Yokon from Grotch. Runs over to, like, the feet of Reckless Dash Emperor Exhaust. And as he is about to lay the killing blow on the Carrangers, Dynamo just hucks the package of expired Emo Yokon into his mouth, which, as we have seen before, the great power of this Emo Yokon is so all-encompassing that it can even lay low the mightiest of evil Dash Emperors.
And it does. It does. It just like, he's like, oh, my tongue. And then he just shrinks and also like loses all of his like battle form powers. Like now, so he's just like Reckless Dash Emperor Exhaust in his human size. And he's like, I'm still going to kill all of you guys. And then, Dynamo does get a kiss for that, by the way. Don't want to miss that part. Zanet is very impressed. But Exhaust is still like, I'm still the evil emperor of the universe. I'm still just going to blast you guys. So like, then they just sort of like, the Rangers are there and he blasts them and they're like, oh, that was bad, but not as bad as this. And then they like just blast him with like they're like standard blasters. Like they just shoot the dude. And then they run together and then they all jump up into the air and they kind of transform into cars and then into like a ball of energy.
It's the Carranger Car Magic Attack.
Yeah. And then they just like blast him with their finisher from like episode 2.
Have we seen the Carranger Car Magic Attack before? I thought that was
No,
new.
we actually haven't. We have seen similar ones. So this is definitely like a leveled up version of that.
Okay.
And then he just bites it. Like, that's it.
That's
and then
it.
when he dies, he dissolves, and then also the entire evil highway dissolves. Like, in space. It's just dust now. It's amazing. So...
And that's
we
it.
go
And
from there.
And then
and
like
that's it.
all of the Carrangers jump in the air and there's a freeze frame. Like, and then we brought peace to the universe.
Right. They're like, hooray, we did it. And then they have a party. And then we see the party. They have a banner made for the party. And it just says, party for keeping peace in the universe, which is amazing. If I ever get invited to a party with that title, I'm going, if at all possible. Everybody's there. Rangers are there. The Bozark are there. Signalman's there. VRV Master's there. Everybody's there. And they toast. They're like, this is rad. It's a very nice party. The Bozark are still very rude boys, though. Like, they still clearly don't know how to behave properly at a party.
But they're trying. You know, like... I don't know if they're trying. They are being good-natured. They're not, like, being malicious. They're just being rude.
Yeah.
Crude,
So,
I think, is probably a better...
That's a better way to say it. And then we get some, the epilogue. So here's the epilogue. Here's what happens. Signal Man goes home, and he is studying to become a detective. He's got to pass the exam, because right now he's just like a traffic cop. So he wants to get promoted. So he's got to pass the exam. So that's great. Dynamo stays on Earth and goes to work at a Korean barbecue restaurant.
Right. He dissolves the Bozoke.
Yeah. Zelmoda and Grotch, realizing some deficiencies in their education, go back to elementary school, which is incredible. Grotch apparently did not graduate from elementary school.
And he was their genius inventor.
Well, okay.
Although
now
he
listen,
was a very bad
say,
genius inventor.
He was, but given that he never graduated elementary school, I'm still impressed.
Just shows a lot of natural talent.
Yeah. So the Bozoke decide to start a musical theater troupe and hope to become stars.
Zanette, the Vanity Mirror fanbelt, goes back to her home planet, where she is, having to deal with a bunch of intergalactic suitors coming to try to win her hand, and all of them are just like these weird-looking aliens, and she doesn't want to marry any of them, and she, runs away from the castle and looks out up into space, and then looks into her locket, where she has a picture of Kyosuke.
And she's just like, he is the only person that I really love. Sort of like, well then...
Why are you here? Why did you not bring him with you to be your space friends? Anyways,
VRV Master and Dapu are just cruising around the universe. VRV Master's like, come, my son, let me show you the wonders of the universe. And Dapu's like, this is cool and all, but I want to go hang out with the Carrangers again. And his dad's like, maybe.
Earth actually sucks a little.
The Carrangers just go back to work at a rebuilt Pegasus Motors. And they're like, we'll all work hard at the Pegasus Motors shop.
And then maybe someday they will actually build that dream car they talked about in the first episode.
Yeah. And then that's it. That is the end of Carranger.
Yeah,
they just go back to work.
We get a sort of a remix of the opening sequence where we see, because in the opening sequence there's bits where everyone has a little thing they do and then they stop on a freeze frame. That is actually not a freeze frame. It's just them stopping and pretending it's a freeze frame.
Yeah.
Which is particularly funny when I don't think we've ever mentioned this before. When Minoru does it, his bit is that he's trying to sell some cars and he's out at a restaurant and he hands somebody his business card and he goes to sit down in his seat, but the seat is further back than he thinks it is and he falls over and then he kind of gets up halfway. But the moment, the very last moment where he has to sort of stop and pretend it's a freeze frame, he is stopping in a really awkward position and he can't quite stand entirely still. And so he's just standing there kind of shaking for a half a second. I look forward to it every week. But we get a weird remix of that where it kind of seems like it's going to be those scenes, but there's a twist on it. And then we get one last scene of all of them in their costumes with their helmets off, and a big thing comes up on the screen that says, "Thanks for watching," and that's Carranger. And that's it. That is it for License to Carranger. We don't actually have a new monster to put on the list this week, do we?
No, we don't really.
I guess there's Norishan Final, but...
I was going to say, I don't know that I would count Norishan Final. He's a robot, and he's only around for a tiny little bit.
I feel I would honestly just put him as an asterisk on Norishan 12. Because they're basically the same thing.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's it. Now, obviously, it is kind of it for this episode. It's not it for License to Carranger.
Right, because next week we're going to come back, and we're going to sort of have our recap of the full season. We're gonna put the Bozoke leaders on the Creature Royale. We're gonna sort of rank some other stuff, talk about our feelings about the season in general, and then there may be an off week before we start the next season, and then we'll just roll on, I guess.
Yeah, man.
But thank you for listening to this episode. It's been a real hoot talking to you about these good car boys. But that is it for this episode of License to Carranger. Before we finish up here, I'd like to remind you that you can email the show at supersentaibrothers@gmail.com. If you want to get any updates on future episodes or check out what we're talking about on Twitter, we're on there at Super Sentai Bros. Dave, if people want to get a hold of you to get in on the playtest of Go Sentai Heroes, how would they do that?
Oh, if you just email me at gosentaiheroes@gmail.com, I will get the rules out to you and also put you on the mailing list for any future updates.
Right on. If you like the show, please remember that shining in the iTunes review section, there are 5 stars. Rate, review, subscribe there. That's going to help other people find the show. Actually, since we are at the end of a season, now would be a good time to tell a friend because we're about to start a new season, and that's always a good time to jump in. The Super Sentai Brothers are a production of Retrograde Orbit Radio. If you'd like to listen to any of the other great Retrograde Orbit Radio shows, you can find them all at retrogradeorbitradio.com. Once again, we are the Super Sentai Brothers. I'm Matt.
I'm Dave.
And we'll see you next week for the greatest show on Earth.